Hey, dude, do you remember All Out 2019?
I remember.
Are you only remembering because they just played it on YouTube the last 2 weeks?
Yeah.
So, cue the intro.
The following presentation has been brought to you by HSF Productions. The Impromptu Wrestling Podcast with your hosts, Jeff and David.
Hey guys, welcome back to IWP, the Impromptu Wrestling Podcast. We are your host. I'm Tally006. Over to my left, as always, is my brother Damien. How's it going today?
I'm doing really well. It's Sunday, and we're going to talk about some wrestling, so it's always good.
Always good. So, yeah, special edition episode of Impromptu Wrestling Podcast today. For those of you who are maybe a little bit out of the loop, AEW Dynamite was shifted all over the week the last couple of weeks because of the NBA playoffs. So in their time slot on their YouTube channel, AEW decided to replay All Out 2019. And because we weren't podcasting back then, we didn't start until the new year, I thought it would be a good idea. Since it was on, we could watch it again. Let's go back and revisit All Out 2019 and just kind of do a quick run through of all of the matches and what we thought. We both sat and watched the show together. It was a good time, and yeah, it was kind of fun to look back on some of these memories. I almost said member berries.
Yeah, it was really good to look back, and you see some of these people that have actually grown over this past year, and you know what they look like, things they wore, and stuff like that. It was kind of cool.
Yeah, and we'll even get into some situations where, like, people we see back a year ago who we didn't know who they are, who are like mainstays of the show now, in a way. So we'll definitely talk about that. Some secret hidden cameos, if you will. But definitely, let's get right into the show. We are talking about All Out 2019, Saturday, August 31st, 1 year ago today, tomorrow as we record, as you guys are watching this, live on pay-per-view. Overall, what are your memories of watching this last year?
It was a pretty exciting show. We didn't get to watch it together.
No, we didn't.
But yeah, I was so pumped, and really it was about the Jericho Hangman match. We were going to get our first champion, and yeah, I was super pumped for that match.
Yeah, I remember this was only the fourth show AEW had ever put on. You got to remember that this is before weekly TV, before Dynamite on TNT. We'd only had Double or Nothing, the inaugural show, Fyter Fest, which was kind of a trial run show, if you will. It wasn't very long. I think it was only like a 2-hour show. Fight for the Fallen, which was a huge success and a good cause. And then we're at All Out. You know, without weekly TV, it was really tough. I feel like it was really tough for AEW to build their storylines, but they did such a good job using the YouTube channels, being the Elite, Road 2, Nightmare Family. They had some avenues to help the stories progress, and they did a really good job, and it did get us really pumped up for this show. So yeah, big props to AEW for making it work without weekly TV. It was huge. But let's just jump right in.
Let's do it.
All right, so All Out started with the buy-in. It's their version of a kickoff show, if you will. The show starts off with the Casino Battle Royale. We saw this at Double or Nothing. It was the 27-man or 21 man battle royal. A little bit different from a Royal Rumble. Competitors came out in groups of 5, and then there was one joker. The winner of that match was going to be in the main event for this match, which ended up being Hangman Page. But this time we're doing it for the ladies. Again, same format, 21 competitors coming in 5 at a time. One joker. Winner will move on to the debut show of AEW Dynamite for the Women's World Championship.
The inaugural.
Yeah. Women's Championship. So we'll just quickly go through. The first group coming out was Leva Bates, Fabi Apache, Priscilla Kelly, Nyla Rose, and Shalandra. What do you remember about this group coming out?
Well, Leva Bates was doing her librarian gimmick.
Right.
So she had the books and she was looking super good. And Nyla Rose's ring attire was much different than the Nyla Rose we're used to seeing on a weekly basis on Dynamite.
Yeah.
Do you remember the outfit there?
Yeah, so she almost had like the long pants tights going on, but then like a very skimpy top, if you will, compared to kind of the one piece bodysuit that she wears now with the trim along the waist and stuff like that. So yeah, it was really different, and she looked completely different.
Yeah, she couldn't get away with being the Beast in an outfit like that.
Yeah, for sure.
That just wouldn't work.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, it was interesting. Priscilla Kelly. I think this might be the second time we've seen her at this point. I always liked Priscilla Kelly. She had a couple chances on AEW Dark and Dynamite, but we haven't seen her as of late. She's still kicking it on the indies, but she's a really good talent. And, I think she just won an independent championship in an intergender match. So yeah, congratulations to her. Ex-wife of Darby Allin. They split up.
Sorry to hear that.
She's on the market.
So she's available.
She's available. So yeah, the Casino Battle Royal starts off, and the 4 other competitors, they kind of just decide they're going to team up on Nyla Rose, but I mean, that doesn't go over so well. She pretty much picks them all apart one at a time, but we do get kind of a Kofi Kingston spot with Leva Bates. She kind of hooks her feet on the ropes and is doing a handstand outside the ring, and Peter Avalon's there to lay some books out, and she walks the books to the steps like almost 3/4 of the way around the ring. What did you think of this spot? And did you? I feel like it's breaking the rules. Like, it would have been cool if she just pulled herself up from her feet. I think that would have been just as impressive, but they tried to go for the comedy bit, and to me, that's still breaking the rules. You're on the ground. I don't care if there's a book there or not. What did you think?
Yeah, you're right. I think it's clever though, because it really goes with their characters of being the librarian. But
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's a debate whether or not that really fits with the actual rules. And
yeah,
but yeah, it happened. So what can we do?
So by the time the second group's coming out, Nyla Rose is in the ring by herself. She's eliminated the other 4, I believe, is how this went. So the next group comes out. I believe it's the Diamonds. I think it's the clubs that started. But the Diamonds are coming out. We got Penelope Ford, Shaza McKenzie, Sadie Gibbs, who we just talked about last week, and Big Swollen Dr. Britt Baker, which was kind of funny to see these two walking the ramp pretty much beside each other, considering what they're going through right now. So what did you think of this group?
Well, it was really good to see Penelope Ford. I don't remember her from when I originally watched this. Feeling like she wasn't much of a character to many people back then. Now she's just huge. Dr. Britt Baker got a huge pop when she came out. She was, I guess, the best known of all of the ladies in this group. And it was weird to me too to see those two coming out together seeing as though there's a huge feud between the two ladies right now.
Right. Yeah, I had the same thing. Like, I think we had only seen a little bit of Penelope Ford in some of Brandy's little vignettes that she was doing at the time. She kind of had all the girls who were actually signed at that moment. So it was Allie, it was Britt Baker, and Penelope Ford, and they were always like hanging out by the pool and stuff like that. But, you know, without going onto YouTube and like researching Penelope Ford, yeah, I don't really think I knew her story either. I just knew that she was Joey Janela's kind of like arm candy at the time, and that's really the life of what I knew.
They were still together at this time,
I believe so. Yeah, I think I think within the time between All Out and Dynamite starting is where she dumped them for Kip, but which was a feud in a way. But we don't need to talk about that. Sadie Gibbs, I wanted to talk about Sadie Gibbs since we did just report on her being released from AEW. You know, it was such a push on her. They were doing the produced vignettes coming out of Double or Nothing. We were hearing about this amazing talent all summer, and we finally get to see her. And I mean, like, she's impressive in the little bit that she's in this match. She does some really athletic things, and one of the cleanest kip ups I've ever seen happens in the middle of this battle royale. So what do you remember of Sadie Gibbs after watching this again?
Just that I was super pumped about her, you know, possibly being in AEW and being a part of this, and I was a fan. And you know, thinking about her now, it's too bad that she's not going to be around, but right. Hopefully that changes.
Yeah, hopefully she makes her way back to AEW. Getting into the third group coming out, one of the biggest pops, I think, of the night almost. Tenille Dashwood, formerly known as Emma, got a huge pop when she came out, even though the camera kind of misses it, but you knew it was for her. I don't understand why she's not in AEW right now, but I think she might be signed to Impact, but I think AEW really dropped the ball not signing Tenille. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree, because she's a really good wrestler, first and foremost, and she can be character. We saw her be a few different things in the Vanilla brand, and she did them all really, really well. And not your normal kind of characters either. She was kind of off the wall with it. So, I think it's a loss too for AEW. Yeah.
You mentioned her actual wrestling talent. She's a graduate of the Lance Storm School of Wrestling. So, you know, it goes without saying that she has what it takes to be a professional wrestler. So, yeah. This is the first time we're going to see Ivelisse. I totally forgot. This is one of the things I was mentioning a little bit earlier in the show, how, you know, we know these people now, but forget that they were a part of the show back then. Ivelisse, she has a pretty good big part in this, in the Battle Royale. She was in there for a little while. Probably the most interesting spot, Babe Priestley getting attacked by Britt Baker before she even made it halfway down the ramp. What did you think of Britt's attack? This is all coming off of a Fight for the Fallen in the errant kick that gives Britt Baker concussion. So this was the start of like one of the first feuds really going into All Out.
Yeah, I thought it was a really good idea that she doesn't get eliminated, but she leaves the ring to kind of get her before she gets into the ring. And it kind of changes your sort of aspect on what you think about Britt Baker, because she kind of comes off as this, you know, pretty goody two-shoes, but she has some fight into her.
Yeah, and this is all before we get heel Britt Baker, right? That didn't happen until this year. You know, she was basically the baby face of, you know, she calls herself the face of the company now, but she was really the baby face of the women's division. And yeah, we get to see that fire kind of for the first time, and maybe the hints of what's to come. Also in this group was Brandy Rhodes and Awesome Kong. We saw this relationship come together at, I believe it was Double or Nothing was the big introduction of Awesome Kong. Brandy putting Awesome Kong into that 3-way match with Britt Baker, Allin, and I believe it was Nyla Rose. Yeah, it was Nyla in that triple threat match, Double or Nothing, if I remember correctly. If I was wrong, leave it in the comments below. Yeah, you kind of, when you see Awesome Kong coming out, you kind of looking for that face off, that lockup with Nyla, and sure enough, we get it like almost right away. So that was kind of a big moment in the Battle Royale. Anything you want to add to this group?
Yeah, no, I think we hit everything. I guess we could say that Brandy's character at this point is still, she doesn't really have to do anything because Awesome Kong's going to do kind of all the work for her. And I think she does eliminate somebody, and then it wasn't really much of an elimination. And then she kind of sits in the corner and kind of laughs about it. So,
yeah. And then eventually, we'll get to it a little bit later, but eventually Awesome Kong does get eliminated, and Brandy's kind of left by herself, and she plays it up like, oh no, what am I going to do now? And sure enough, she gets eliminated like before Awesome Kong can even get up off the ground from taking her bump. So yeah, there's an interesting relationship between those two. The fourth group comes out. We got Allin, Nicole Savoy, which is Little Swole, now known as Little Swole. Teal Piper, which had some big, not heat, but she had some, I don't know what the word is. We were supposed to be excited about her being in this match, but it didn't really pan out. What do you remember of the hype that Teal Piper was getting before coming into this match?
Yeah, I mean, when you're the daughter of, a legend, there's going to be some expectations, and yeah, it just didn't pan out.
She didn't have the biggest role in this Battle Royale. She didn't even very much last very long. You know what I mean? And yeah, she got her spot, and I think it's like Golden Boy who calls it out that, the daughter of the Hall of Famer, Roddy Piper. And then as quick as she was in there, she was gone, and like literally haven't seen her since. But she was very, very green going into that Battle Royale. I think she had only been training for like 2 years at that time. Not to say that that's a bad thing. We got Anna Jay's only 11 months in now, you know what I mean? So it just, maybe she wasn't progressing as fast as the AEW brass would have liked. But yeah,
right.
I'm curious at what she's doing now a year later.
Yeah, was it? Do you think this was just to bring in a name?
Yeah, maybe.
For some hype?
Yeah, maybe. Also in this group, we had ODB. Would you think of ODB? This is probably the first time you're seeing her.
Yeah, she's a different character. she's a big girl, and not in the way that you might think. she's a very heavyset lady, and you're wondering how she's gonna wrestle like that. But I thought she did really well. I'd actually like to see more of her. Right. In the type of character she is.
Yeah, so she was just very recently was Impact Knockouts champion. In Impact Wrestling, she lost to I can't even remember what her name is. But yeah, she's a big deal in Impact Wrestling, and she's still doing that hick redneck type character. I don't know for sure, but I'm thinking ODB stands for Old Dirty Bitch. Kind of going off of the old dirty bastard. I'm assuming that's what it is, but If you guys know,
Yeah.
again, leave it in the comments below. And also Jazz. There was a lot of attention coming off of Jazz. I can't remember if she was like a WWE women's superstar wrestler or was she a WCW? I can't remember, but there seemed to be a lot of hype on Jazz as she was coming out. The commentators are really putting her over, but I just can't place where I know her from.
Yeah, I couldn't either.
And then the Joker comes out. It's Mercedes Martinez. This was a big surprise because Mercedes was really involved with WWE at this point. You know, she was doing the Mae Young Classics. She had just finished doing the Mae Young Classic like a couple weeks before this, so it was kind of a big surprise that she shows up. And I got really excited because she's an amazing talent in the ring, and I was just like, oh yeah, this adds kind of that bad girl type character. You know, she's tough, she's kind of thuggish, and that'll kind of add that character to the women's division. And then yeah, we don't even see her again. Might see her once on a Dynamite, and you know, now she's back signed with the WWE and she's creating some waves over there. So what did you think of Mercedes Martinez being in the Casino Battle Royal?
Yeah, she got a huge pop. I want to say that they kept they did a good job of keeping this a secret. I don't think anybody knew that she was going to be the Joker. Yeah, I didn't really know much of her. I don't even think I remember seeing her in the Mae Young Classic, and she just has this look. It's just like, yeah, I think she's going to go in and, you know, take everybody out and win this. Didn't quite turn out that way, but yeah, it would have been good to have her as a character on the show, but it sounds like she's doing well in the Vanilla brand.
Yeah, for sure. So let's talk about this finish. We get to a point where it's just Bea Priestley, Britt Baker, and Nyla Rose, and they kind of started working together a little bit. I believe Excalibur calls it an inadvertent teamwork, and they're trying to work their way to get Nyla out, but Britt kind of changes gears and gets the surprise elimination on Bea Priestley. But before, you know, Britt can turn around and, you know, focus her attention on Nyla Rose, Bea grabs the arm of Britt Baker and holds her, and Nyla takes advantage for the winning elimination. What did you think of how they pulled off the finish and whatnot?
I remember when I watched this live that I thought it was awesome. It was not kind of what you expected. Watching it back a second time, you know, she has her hand over the rope and she's kind of just standing there, and you can kind of see how it's all set up.
Right.
So watching it a second time, not as exciting, but I think they really got you thinking it was going to be left up to them with the earlier attack, and it's like, okay, they're going to be the last two, but it doesn't turn out that way, and then we get this finish, which I think was good for Britt Baker's character because it still kept her strong. It's not like she got eliminated,
right?
You know, on her own kind of thing.
Yeah, it's a good point, and you know, she is, like we said, the kind of the top name at this point of the year. I mean, she still is, but, you know, by leaps and bounds, like, she was the name on the top of the list. And, yeah, this keeps her name value up there and strong. And, yeah, I like the way the finish goes, but I totally get what you're saying. Like, she was totally just holding the arm out there. And it was just like, okay, come on. But yeah, so Nyla Rose gets the win. She's going to move on to the inaugural episode of AEW Dynamite to challenge for the AEW Women's Championship. Opponent to be determined by a match later on in the night that we'll get to between Hikaru Shida and Riho. But let's keep the show rolling. We have Private Party versus Angelico and Jack Evans, TH2, before they were known as TH2. What do you remember about this match?
Like when I watched it originally, or
just that was probably the wrong words, but like, what are your thoughts on this match?
I mean, it was a decent match. Really, when I watched this the second time, what I felt this was like a introduction of these two tag teams to the sort of wider audience. We've seen every spot that they probably have in their repertoire, the things that they do regularly, and that's kind of what this whole match was. I don't remember any botches or anything like that, so nothing to like really highlight here, but it's just all of the kind of moves that they do on a regular match.
This was very much of a modern tag team wrestling match. Things were very open. Watching it back the second time, I was like, man, I gotta go back and watch this the third time, because I'm pretty sure the wrong legal man was in at certain points. Like, tags weren't being made. I think they were forgetting who was who at some times, but that's very much the modern style now, is how it's very, very open. But yeah, like you said, this was a
Remsburg was reffing too, so.
Oh yeah. He was just worried about getting his face on camera, that doorknob. Yeah, so very much a spot monkey type match. Look what we can do. I agree with that. And it's very, very spectacular. If this is the first time you've ever seen this kind of wrestling, like, you would be like, holy shit, man, I can't believe the kind of stuff that these guys are doing. It's flips here and flips there, and it's very spectacular to watch for the first time. But when we've seen these guys for a year now, and you go back and you're like, yeah, they're just showing off. There was really no psychology to this match at all. But that's not their fault. This was two new teams that the American audiences really wouldn't know of. You know, Private Party is barely into the beginning of their career, plucked out of a small indie company in New York, and TH2 was working in Mexico most of their careers, and former AAA tag team champions and stuff like that. So yeah, this was very much just an introduction. Like, this is what we do, and this is what you're gonna see, which was it was just fine.
Yeah, and then after the match, we get Angelico and Evans attack Private Party, which I wasn't sure why this needed to happen. Like you said earlier in the show, there's, it's hard to do storylines when you're having shows, here and there. It just seemed odd.
I think I feel like that's how I felt afterwards. It's just like, was there really a need for that? But kind of watching it back the second time, I had the kind of the foresight, I guess that might be the wrong word, but this is the last big show before weekly television starts, and technically all the tag teams we have right now are all baby faces. Private Party babyface, Young Bucks babyface, SCU babyface. We needed a heel tag team, and this was that heel turn to get set up for TV. I think that's why it was thrown in there.
Because we were a month away from TV.
Yeah, like exactly 1 month. So
okay, yeah, that makes sense.
So yeah, but yeah, it was a good match. It was very, very impressive, like we said. But let's so this is where we get some secret cameos. In a way, we get this vignette that plays, and I remember watching this and being like, what are we watching right now? Are we supposed to know who this guy is? Are we supposed to like what is going on here? And just, who's that chick? I remember thinking that. I was just like, she's absolutely gorgeous.
Cheesy acting.
Yeah.
Cheesy acting.
But we're talking about the Wardlow vignette, the introduction to Wardlow. He's kind of just walking with who we now know was Anna Jay, sneaking in there, and
Right.
they're just walking through the parking lot, and there's a group of guys that kind of give them some jeers maybe, and I can't believe I just said jeers.
They weren't really applauding him.
And Wardlow turns around, and Anna kind of gives him the wink and do what you got to do, and Wardlow just proceeds to kick the shit out of these four guys. Interestingly enough, you had watched this before I had joined the watch party, and you were asking me if I had noticed that there was some AEW Dark regulars in this vignette. Why don't you tell us about that?
Right. So we see Lee Johnson. He's plain as day. You could pick him out. I did not notice Alan Angels in there, but you did. And there's a couple of other fellas in there that it's hard to tell who exactly they are. One of them kind of looked like Griff Garrison to me. Didn't look like Griff Garrison to you. So if anybody knows who those
other two
two guys are, let us know, because I'm losing sleep over it now. Trying to figure out who they are.
Yeah, no, that one guy in the leather jacket definitely has Griff Garrison's hair. He kind of has it up, but it's definitely blonde. It's definitely curly, but he looked like he was 45 years old, and Griff Garrison definitely doesn't look 45 years old. So, and I think the other guy might be Shawn Dean, but again, it's hard to say. You barely see his face. He gets punched and he rolls away, and you don't really get to see him again. But that's definitely Lee Johnson and Alan Angels kind of front and center in it. And of course, Anna Jay is kind of cool. That these are guys that we would never have known until they came into AEW Wrestling on Dark. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, and I'm thinking at this point, I'm sure they didn't know what they were going to do with Wardlow. He probably wasn't meant to be associated with MJF.
Yeah, definitely not.
He didn't have the suit on. He wasn't the character that we know him as now. But coincidentally enough, the segment that follows this is MJF.
Yeah, which is kind of weird to think. Yeah. There is a moment where Wardlow gets his shirt ripped off, and he's got like a nasty scar on his shoulder that like is not there anymore. So like that was obviously put there, like he is some kind of fight clubber of some sort, But it's kind of interesting how they definitely had a vision for what Wardlow was going to be, but then as the show goes on, we get into weekly TV, they kind of need this big bodyguard for MJF, and they're like, yeah, it'd be perfect for this is Wardlow, and it's been working for him.
Yeah, I really like Wardlow.
What do you know about this MJF interview? What do you got to say about it? You mentioned it.
So we see Jen Decker in the back, beautiful as she always is. MJF's not even paying attention to her, and she's asking him like, people are wondering why you don't have a match here at All Out. Finally, he starts to pay attention to her, and he's like, I didn't even want a match. I'm here to help Cody get revenge on this, terrible person, Shawn Spears, blah, 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 blah. And Jen kind of pipes back at him like, well, what if you're not even picked to be at ringside? I'm guessing the stipulation was they were allowed to have only one person at ringside, and Shawn Spears had Tully Blanchard. So he kind of goes, haha, you're funny, but you got my number. And then he walks away, because that was kind of his gimmick at the beginning was, you got my number.
Right. Yeah, classic MJF at that point. He's changed it a lot too since then. That's almost Sammy's character now. Well, maybe not now, but I mean earlier in the year it was. He was very much
the whole hit me up.
Yeah, hit me up. All right, so that was the buy-in. Two decent, ways to kick off the night. There was nothing wrong with that. But as we get into the main show, we start off with a 6-man tag match. We got the newly... Oh, no, sorry. This is a straight-up tag match. My bad. This is Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy with Marco Stunt versus SCU. Oh, no, this is a 6-man tag. I didn't watch this match. I'm sorry. Yeah, so the newly...
Yeah, it was. Because is this like one of the first times we see Marco?
Yeah, newly formed Jurassic Express. I believe this is the first time we get to see Jurassic Express going up against SCU, the vets. What do you remember about this match? What do you know about this match? I literally didn't watch it the second time around. Yeah, I don't remember really knowing a lot about Jurassic Express, especially Marco Stunt. They got a huge pop when they came in with their entrance. This might have been the first time we've seen the Jurassic Express entrance that we know today with the music and whatnot. So that was pretty cool. Again, I really felt like this match was more or less just kind of displaying all of the moves that they do that we see on a regular basis now, kind of all their signature stuff. Really good match though, well put together. But again, one of those matches where we didn't really have a heel and a face. Right.
Like it was kind of two face teams going up against each other. I guess SoCal Uncensored heel, but they're not.
They were the anti-heels, right? Like they were so bad that they were cool kind of thing. You know, they had the t-shirts, they had the this is the worst town I've ever been in gimmick going. It was tough not to like SCU at that point. They were such a big part of being the elite leading up to this. So I totally see what you're saying. It was kind of two face teams going up against it, and it's really hard to put psychology together in that with that dynamic. But again, this was just a coming out party for Jurassic Express. They were the new kids on the block, and this is what we got. SCU goes over on this one with the best Meltzer ever. It's their kind of version of the Meltzer driver. I mean, it's a 6-man tag. Like I said, I didn't even watch it the second time around because I couldn't help but I couldn't put myself through that again. You know me and the 6-man tags.
Yeah.
So let's just keep the show rolling along. And I remember when watching this live, when this match, when Kenny's music hit, and I'm like, really? They're doing this match this early in the night? It was a big shock. I am, of course, talking about Kenny Omega versus Pac. This was supposed to be Kenny Omega versus John Moxley. Moxley has the staph infection from his match against Lance Archer in New Japan. He had that elbow injury. It gets infected. He has to pull out of the match. They did a really good job in being the elites and the Road Twos progressing this story and how John Moxley has to back out. And Kenny almost goes full heel at this point. Where he's just like, oh, I can't believe you talk so much game about how you're the most dangerous man on the planet, and then you pull out because of this infection in your elbow. And, it was actually a really good story. But Pac comes in to take the place, and, I mean, we get probably match of the night. Well, second match of the night for me anyways. Yeah. This match was amazing. It was long. Like, I can't remember what the exact time is, but I'm guessing it was definitely right to the 20-minute mark. Right?
Right.
Was there a 20-minute time limit on this one? What do you remember this one?
I don't remember if they heard an announcer calling time on it, but probably. This was a really fantastic match, up there with the match of the night, which is amazing for not having any storyline between these two guys. They had never wrestled each other, so this was the first time that they wrestled each other. Mm-hmm. And Pac not really being part of the company yet. The way that the announcers were talking, it's kind of like this was just signed for for this event, but Pac wasn't really a thing in AEW as of yet.
Well, he was supposed to have that match at Double or Nothing with Hangman, but he was injured. They did that little spot in Dragon Gate just to kind of appease the contracts. And yeah, Pac is basically out of his contract at this point, but this was kind of his coming out party, or coming back party, if you will. And he's very much a staple of Dynamite when it starts in the fall. But yeah, I see what you're saying. Like, he was kind of not official at this point. So that was kind of a big deal.
But he is backed with his name from, Vanilla Brand. Everybody knew who he was. And, man, like, these two guys are so athletic. It wasn't a super, like, fast match. Like, it was slow and it was brutal at some times.
Hard hitting.
Yeah.
I remember the chops that they were giving each other, just massive.
Yeah.
And then we still get the very much athletic, these guys are both technically high flyers in a way. And we get to see that. I can't remember where the spot is, but Kenny's on the ground outside the ring, and Pac goes up to the corner and does this corkscrew moonsault and just absolutely clips his shins across the barricade.
Right.
Like, how is your leg not broken after that? That was insane.
Yeah. The sound that it makes when his legs hit the barrier, you're just like, yeah, he's broken his legs. Totally.
Yeah. This wouldn't be the first time he's done that off that move, because he had a match against Jericho in Vanilla Brand where he was supposed to, miss the thing and land on his feet, and he ends up just shredding his ankle.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I mean, we should let everybody know that if you haven't seen this, go check it out. But one thing you will notice is that there is barely any ringside here.
Yes.
There's not a lot of room, so to make that flip and hit Kenny and not hit the barrier would have probably been pretty hard to do.
Yeah, for sure.
But the guy gets up, it gets back in the ring, and follows it up with a 450 splash onto Kenny.
Right.
Like, broken leg and all.
Broken leg and all, yeah. Yeah, I should mention, probably should have mentioned this at the beginning of the show, but I will have the links in the description below for the buy-in for part 1 and part 2, so you guys can check that out on YouTube. But yeah, what else can you say about this match? It was hard-hitting. We had the athleticism, the flippy stuff in the spots, and it just comes down to pure brute force. Like I said, this match goes all the way to the time limit, just about. We actually get into more of a chess match of the signature moves and some submission attempts, and it's finally Pac getting Kenny tied up into the brutalizer. It was teased probably 2 or 3 times at this point. Two or three different times that Kenny kept getting out of it, but Pac locks it in this time. And I want to say that this is the first time that we see like a non-tap, where Kenny just passes out and the ref just has to call the match. It's a good way to put the new guy over. Kenny still seems strong at this point, even though his record is going to be 1-2 at this moment. What did you think of the finish?
Yeah, I thought it was a good finish because you don't really see it coming. It's if I remember correctly, Kenny has him in kind of like a torture rack type situation, and then he gets the brutalizer in there, and Kenny's standing, and it takes a while for him to actually like go to ground and actually do the pass out before Paul Turner calls it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know if people were disappointed there was no 1, 2, 3, but like you said, it's a great way for Kenny to lose, but not lose.
Yeah.
And a great way to really showcase Pac, because from the very beginning of the match, it was, Kenny would do a move and then Pac would do a move, and they would kind of like, this is how good I am. And, and then it ends with ultimately Pac winning.
Yeah. I believe Kenny has him up in the one-winged angel, getting ready to pull off that signature move, and he squirms out of it and gets the arms and the chin hooked up. But yeah, it was a great match. Like I said, it was probably second on the night for me, for sure. There could be arguments to make that it is match of the night, but we'll talk about that when the actual match of the night comes up. But
right.
Yeah, it was good. It was a good match. Go check it out. Next up on the bill was the Cracker Barrel Challenge, I think is what they were calling this. We have the new star, the new kind of up and coming star of AEW, being Darby Allin, coming off of his time limit draw with Cody at Fyter Fest. Joey Janela, the bad boy, he's probably one of the bigger names up to this point, and the hardcore legend himself, Jimmy Havoc. This match, I think we're going to be talking about this one for a while, so guys, strap yourself in.
Well, if we talk about all of the crazy spots, yes, this will be a long segment. I think overall, yeah, I just remember my jaw just being on the ground the entire time. I'd pick it up, it would go back down. And I think remembering back to, this is where I really started to like Jimmy and his character and what he was about. I thought it was a really, really entertaining match.
It takes a special kind of person to hear the bell ring, look at your opponents, leave, grab a staple gun, come back in and staple yourself in the arm 3 or 4 times.
Right.
And you're like
that's intimidating.
Holy shit. So, but anyways, that's how the match starts off. Janela and Allin, they definitely weren't intimidated in a way, because they get control of Jimmy fairly quickly. And they go right into the spot where they got Jimmy taped to the chair. He can't move anywhere. And then Darby grabs a cup full of tacks and pours it down his mouth. I've never seen this before. This is freaking wild. And then Janela, he has some trouble. It's a little bit of a botch there. He couldn't get the tape to stick to Jimmy's mouth. Jimmy's just trying to sit there like, yeah, I could totally spit these out right now, but I mean, it's for the spot. And if you guys are thinking that, this is all a work and the tacks weren't really in his mouth, well, he finally pulls the tape off and spits them into his hand later. So and that's, a good set of minutes later.
He spits them in Janela's face.
He spits them into his hand and then he throws it at Janela's face.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But they were definitely in there that whole time that he was taped up to that chair. It was crazy.
Yeah.
But before that, Darby and Janela basically get a singles match. It's always a good tactic in a triple threat match to kind of eliminate one early, and then you can have these like singles matches in amongst while everybody's selling at the point. Pretty standard stuff. But that was an interesting way to kind of put Jimmy out of it for a second. And we get this really awesome, quick Darby versus Janela match. Darby, that tope suicina to the outside on Janela. Like, Janela
when he dies there?
When he hits that barricade, just absolutely forceful into the barricade from that tope suicina. It's crazy.
With velocity, for sure.
Velocity, yeah. We also get... doesn't Darby... No, how did that go now? Darby tries to do a flip onto Janela or something like that and totally kills himself on the outside right after that tope.
Well, I think what happened here is, so Jimmy's in the chair. Okay, so he's outside on the floor in the corner in the chair, and then Darby gets on the top rope and does a moonsault on top of Jimmy.
Right.
Where he takes some of the chair. I feel Darby got in the back, and he also hits his feet on the barrier.
He packs.
So Jimmy's still out because he's got the tacks in his mouth. He just got moonsaulted.
Right.
So, and this kind of takes Darby out as well. Like, he's hurting.
Yeah.
And then Janela takes him to the ring and does an Emerald Frozen, Excalibur called it.
Right.
I had to look it up to see if it was a real thing. To Darby on the apron. I don't know if you can describe what this move actually is.
Yeah, I don't know. He does something similar to it now, but he does it from like a Death Valley driver position. But this, he had him in like almost kind of like the Deadeye in a way. He's kind of got his legs hooked up on this one, and then he has his head in a like an inverted headlock, and then he just drops off the apron, and Darby takes this bump like right on his neck on the apron. It's gruesome looking. It's one of the, like, why would you even want to do that to somebody? Kind of moves. But
right.
Yeah, it was very like I oh my God, I can't believe you just did that. It's crazy.
Yeah.
By this,
so
go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Yeah. So our jaws are on the ground again, right?
Yeah.
Jimmy's got a mouthful of tacks. How do you not swallow one when you take a moonsault from Darby?
Right.
Darby just takes this brutal bump on the apron, and Joey's kind of, doing his thing, and then he goes to look underneath the ring.
Right.
So tell us what he finds.
Well, I'm not sure what he was looking for initially, but he comes up with a tennis racket, and he looks at it super confused. And he's just like, and he just kind of tosses it. And I don't know, like, I remember the guys I was watching with, they didn't understand what was going on, but I was just laughing my head off. And this, involves our favorite old guy. Our favorite stooge, if you will, Jason Corvette. A couple days before All Out went, he got on Janela's case, and I can't remember exactly what he was saying or what his intentions were, but he's not liking Joey Janela, and he had some not so nice things to say, as Jim Cornette does very often have not so good things to say about AEW. So this was kind of a little shot, and props to JR for really burying Jim Cornette on this one, because he goes, tennis racket? Who the hell would use that? So yeah, it was a clever little bit.
I think it's a very clever way to respond to some criticism that you're getting from the outside. I don't remember knowing what it was about when it happened, but as soon as you said to me, well, you know what that tennis racket represents, and then right there I got that it had something to do with Mr. Corvette there.
Yeah. But there he goes back under, he finds the table, he gets that set up. We'll see that in a little bit. This is where Jimmy finally gets up, pulls the tape off, spits the tacks into his hand, throws it at Joey, and then we get the Joey versus Jimmy kind of one-on-one match for a little while, since Darby's got no more neck. Probably the worst spot of the match happens here. Jimmy has got a little bit of control on Joey. They do that cool little monkey flip where Joey lands in the chair, but this is all just a setup for Jimmy to pull out the AEW logo, and proceeds to give paper cuts with a laminated piece of cardboard, I guess. And I mean, just the camera was in too tight on this spot. It looks horrible. You can tell that he's not even swiping the webbing of the fingers. He's just kind of pulling it away. It looks really bad. I mean, I'm sure this is a spot that Jimmy does regularly, being the kind of wrestler that he is. But yeah, camera needed to be panned out a lot more, because it looks horrible. What did you think of that spot?
Yeah, I agree. I wonder if maybe Joey showed some color here, if that would have
helped it.
Yeah, at least gave it, especially he did it at least twice, if not 3 times. So yeah, the first time Yeah, on the edges of his mouth. I mean, we've all had a paper cut. We know how much it stings. But yeah, maybe if we actually saw that it was doing something, it would have made it a little bit more believable.
Every time I think
the
about
idea
it,
of it,
yeah. Every time I think about it, I think of Jackass when they're in the hotel room and they're paper cutting each other with the really thick yellow envelopes. But you actually see, like when Steve-O does it to his mouth, like you see his skin rip open, and it's just like, wow. That's it's insane.
yeah.
They definitely could have did it better. You could have had the camera behind, so you're not seeing it. Like it could have been done way better, but that's neither here nor there. At this point, Darby's getting up. He's getting back into the match for all of 2 seconds, and Janela does this springboard from the inside on the second rope, over the top rope, into a destroyer, through the table that he set up earlier, and Darby's out again.
Yeah. Yeah, insane spot.
Jaw back on the floor.
I think they called it a pile driver, but yes, looked very much like a destroyer. And yeah, and Darby's dead again.
He's dead again. Janela's doing moonsaults. Jimmy moves out of the way. Okay, yeah. I just read the rest of the notes there, and I had flashbacks. So at this point, Jimmy's on the outside, and Janela gets up to the top rope and does a moonsault off the top to the outside. Jimmy maybe not in the right position that he should have been in, but Janela basically lands right on his knees on the ramp, on the metal ramp. And you thought the thud, the sound that Pac's legs made on the barricade, like this was sickening. Like it made me physically ill in a way.
Yeah.
Listening to that sound, and how he gets up like 20 seconds later and just running the ropes. I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, did Janela jump too far, or was Jimmy too close? But yeah, all in all, what we get in the end is Jimmy did not brace this fall for him at all.
No. Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, and you would have thought he would broken his leg the way he came down.
Yeah. Another big spot. Darby makes his way. He's alive again. The ringside doctor probably performed CPR on him, got him a shot of adrenaline or something. But he gets up and he pulls out a gimmick that we just saw a few weeks ago on Dynamite, and he's got the skateboard laced with tacks, and he stomps Janela with it after taking Jimmy out with a kind of just a straight shot. But we get to see the back stomp onto Janela, and this one probably looked better, but definitely wasn't as devastating as the one Ricky Starks got. What can you tell us about the skateboard stomp in this match?
Yeah, so Golden Boy, who's on comms, says that he does an ollie onto his back. I don't know anything about skateboarding. I didn't know. That doesn't seem like an ollie to me, but yeah, you're right. Where Starks kind of got it ripped down his back, the tacks seemed to have come out easier for Joey, and they were more stuck into his back.
Right.
And they're actually stuck there for the remainder of the match.
Yeah.
You kept seeing it there. Whereas with Starks, it's like they glued them too well. They stayed on the skateboard, didn't come out, and then it just ripped his whole back off. So
Right.
Still really brutal. First time I'm thinking anybody has seen this on TV.
Yeah.
He's probably done this in the Indies,
Yeah.
I'm guessing.
Probably. That's a good point.
Yeah, crazy spot.
Yeah. I mean, jaw back on the floor for that one, right?
Yeah.
And then from here, we get a little bit of a one-on-one between Darby and Jimmy, and this was the Cracker Barrel spot. He's got Jimmy on the stairs outside the ring. Darby goes right up with the Cracker Barrel, puts it behind his back, and performs the coffin drop. And I mean, we talk about sickening thuds, man. This is another one. And we saw the coffin drop fail at Fyter Fest against Cody on the apron. That was really tough. And now we're seeing it again. We see it again at Fight for the Fallen. He misses again. And so I'm telling everybody, he's got to hit one of these sometime. Like, if this is his finishing move, he's got to hit it. Nope. He misses, goes through the barrel, onto the stairs. Darby's done. We don't see him again. He's done.
He's really dead this time.
He's really dead this time. Yeah, crazy spot.
Yeah, onto the steel steps. I think the most shocking part of this is we all realize that there is such a huge margin for error here. Mm-hmm. There's so many ways he could be severely hurt here. The barrel wasn't going to really brace his fall. But yeah, Jimmy moves away, and now it's up to Jimmy and Joey to finish off this match.
Yeah, for sure. There is another barrel out there. Jimmy brings it in the ring. He attempts to do a superplex onto Joey through this barrel, but he totally puts it way too far away. And it's really only the left leg of Joey that gets it. And it looks like because it was so off to one side, it didn't really break clean. And the back of Joey's leg just gets caught on the flat part of the bottom of the barrel. And it looks like he really, gets stung by this barrel. And unfortunately, the barrel's still there, and Jimmy goes right into an acid rainmaker through that barrel just to get the barrel, the image of the barrel exploding. This is our 1, 2, 3. Jimmy Havoc pulls off the Cracker Barrel challenge. It was a kind of a lackluster finish in comparison to the rest of the match. But I think if that superplex through the barrel was a little bit cleaner, and then we just get a normal rainmaker, it probably would have been a lot better. But yeah, this was crazy, crazy match. I'm definitely suggesting everybody watching this, click that link in the description below and go watch this. It's the third match of part 1. It's insane. Absolutely insane.
For sure.
Okay, let's keep the show rolling. We get a tag team match. This tag team match has some implications, some motivation for the guys to get. Dark Order, which at this point is only Evil Uno and Stu Grayson. They debuted at Double or Nothing. The lights went out. They show up. It was a cool spot, except for no one knows who the hell they are at that point. So it kind of fell flat on its face. But they're going up against the Best Friends, probably the hottest tag team in the company at this point, aside from the Young Bucks. But the winner of this match will get a first round bye in the upcoming tag team championship tournament that they did at this time. Tell us about this match. You're the Dark Order guy. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, so at this time we really didn't know much about the Dark Order. Like you mentioned, we had seen them when the lights went out there. I think the weirdest part and what people weren't getting about this was all of the creepers,
right?
And how they make the throne out of the bodies, and
right,
and this Evil Uno who wears this weird mask, sits on him. We really weren't getting this. But watching this a year later with, 30 episodes of Dynamite or so under our belt, and we know these guys now, right off the bat, I'm noticing from the entrance how different it is.
Right.
I noticed that Grayson walks to the ring with a mask on.
Yeah, I think that's
ever remember him wearing a mask.
Yeah, and I think that's remember Street Fighter? Vega with the claws? I think that's what he was going for. I think that's his mask. So a little bit of cosplay there. But yeah, I like what you're saying about the entrances. Like, this was a very much slow, stoic, creepy entrance, where now they're kind of, cocky. We run the show. We're here to take care of business kind of entrance now. Evil Uno walks with a little bit more swagger, I feel, nowadays, where before he was, really trying to be creepy. And I think that has a lot to do with Brody Lee as the Exalted One.
Yes.
In the change of these guys' characters. But we got to mention Evil Uno. He's lost a lot of weight in a year. Like, he's big here.
I mean, you made the comment that you didn't even think it was the same person.
It might be. There's a couple close-ups. The eye holes on this mask that he's wearing a year ago, you get to see a lot of his face, and I mean, it doesn't look like the same guy. Maybe it's just because it's white paint. Now he does black paint, and then now he kind of has a top to his outfit, where back then he was wrestling with no shirt. And he's very much a bigger guy. But yeah, there is, like, I was like, maybe this guy got sick and they substituted him in with somebody else. His younger brother or something like that. Is this Kane Undertaker all over again? I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, what'd you think of this match?
You know what? Knowing Dark Order now, I didn't think this was a great match for them. So I don't know at what point Grayson and Uno started working together, but they seem much more gelled now. Their matches are much more put together, and that could be maybe the fitness of Uno. We do see Grayson doing his Grayson things. Mm-hmm. And then it's not until like the end of the match where we actually see their sort of signature move there, where they kind of flip over one another.
Right.
Yeah, and whatnot. I can't remember what they call that, but
Uno does the cannonball, and then Grayson does the 450 over the guy in the middle of the ring. Yeah, that's a staple of the Dark Order. I know what you're saying. Like, it was almost lackluster. It was a decent match. I think I remember one of our early episodes, I mentioned that the Best Friends seem to have changed roles, where it's like nowadays it's Trent who takes all the beating, and then it's Chucky T that tags in for the hot tag. I feel like that was a change. But watching this match back, that's very much how it went. Trent took all the punishment. The hot tag comes into Chucky, and Chucky takes over the match at that point and kind of gets the comeback. So I retract my statement from a couple months ago. I guess this is just how the Best Friends have always done it. But I mean, yeah, great match. Dark Order ends up taking this one. It was a clean finish. After the match, again, we say this all the time, it really wasn't about the match. It was about after. Dark Order, really buying in, really paying into their creepiness. They're going to walk out with Trent on the creepers' backs. The kidnapping. I think they did this at Fight for the Fallen, and they were a part of like a 6-man tag match of some sort, or another tag match of some sort, I think. But this is kind of their thing, is that they kind of kidnap their fallen victim, but the lights go out, and even before the lights come on, there's already a huge pop going on in the crowd. And I remember at the time, who could this be? Who could this be? Watching it back, a year later, and you're like, oh shit, here it comes. The lights come back on, and it's freshly squeezed himself, Orange Cassidy, and this guy popped up on our radar at Double or Nothing. This is the first time we saw him. He was part of the Casino Battle Royale. And I'm like, you were out barbecuing, you totally missed it. I'm like, dude, you got to see what this guy's doing. I think after the show, I had to go back and show you what this guy's gimmick was. And I mean, I remember us both saying, like, that's fucking brilliant. Nobody's ever done that before, and he plays it off so well. But yeah, he gets a huge pop. I mean, he's a big deal on the indies. I believe he was independent television champion at this point still. He's like one of the longest reigning in that championship's history. But so cool. He was so cool.
It
then.
just goes to show you that, these indie guys, like, they're known. Because, like, he got a huge pop. Like, you would think that was somebody who's been in the business for 20 years.
Right.
Like, people knew what this guy was about. I guess we had seen him once before, but I don't know. Did you expect that this was going to be Orange Cassidy at the time?
No, I had no idea. It was completely a surprise. Like I said, he had just jumped on our radar.
We didn't know that he was affiliated with Best Friends?
I didn't.
Okay.
They mention it in the commentary that he is a training partner of Trent's.
Oh, okay.
So, like, the connection's there, but I didn't know that until then. So,
right. And then he's been with them ever since.
He's been with them ever since. Yeah, he is the third best friend, and that's a stable that is really running things right now. Orange Cassidy, he does his gimmick. He's got his hands in his pockets, the glasses on, tope suicina, hands in the pockets the whole time, takes out the entire Dark Order, saves his buddies, gets back in the ring, hands still in pockets, kip up. Most impressive thing I've ever seen. I've never done it. I can't even do it on a trampoline, never mind with my hands in my pockets. Yeah, amazing. And then we get the big hug. Got to give the people what they want. It was a really cool moment, and it was a really cool introduction. And I think it's right after the show that we get the Orange Cassidy is #AllElite. Yeah, it's a big deal. Big deal. All right, let's keep it rolling. This is the matchup we talked about a little bit earlier. We got Hikaru Shida versus Riho. Winner of this match will move on to face Nyla Rose on the first episode of Dynamite in Washington, D.C. for the inaugural AEW Women's Championship. JR, he kind of had some issues with this match, it felt like, on commentary. He couldn't stop talking about how small Riho was, and I mean, it was really distracting. It took away from the match, watching it back a year later. What did you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's part of his job to talk about the story, right? And we get it. Riho is small.
Yeah.
And Shida is bigger. So why he kept going back to it, if we were playing a drinking game,
yeah,
for every time JR said 98 pounds, we would have been sloshed.
We would have been Tally on Friday night sloshed.
That's right. So yeah, that took a little bit away from it. We actually brought up this match 2 episodes ago.
Right.
When I said that
TJ versus Evil, no. Yeah,
TJ. Tay Conte and Anna Jay. Yeah, TJ.
TJ versus Ivelisse and Diamante.
Yeah, I said this was one of the best ladies match we've seen in AEW, and you had said, whoa. What about this one?
Yeah.
Now I had forgot this one.
And I had it in my mind that this match was really good. I mean, it is really good, but to me, this was the greatest women's wrestling match in AEW history. And that's my memory from a year ago. We watch it back, and I'm noticing JR's commentary. It's taken me out of the match. Yeah, maybe I wasn't quite as impressed the second time around watching this match. But, I mean, it's still an amazing match. You can tell these girls worked together before. There's familiarity. And I just love Riho and how devastating she makes moves look. Like, Shida was doing these backbreakers across her knees. And, I mean, I swear to God, her head and her feet were both touching the ground.
Right, yeah. that was the whole story here. Was Riho was just getting her ass handed to her for most of the match. She'd have little comebacks, but they were short-lived, and then Shida would take control again. And yeah, you're right. That one backbreaker, like her feet and head both touched the mat, and you think she's dead.
Yeah.
But in the end, Riho wins, and we now know what's going to happen. At least one of the matches come October 2nd on the first episode of Dynamite.
Yeah, Nyla Rose comes out after the match, and they have the belt sitting up there in like a glass case on a pedestal, and she kind of looks at the belt, and she looks down to Riho. She kind of points and a little bit of intimidation. The camera does come back on Riho, and you know, props to Riho, like she looks worried, you know, for a Japanese talent to come over to America. I feel like I've seen enough New Japan that they don't really get into the acting side of professional wrestling a lot. Or at least it's just not as well done. But like Riho looks legitimately worried and scared of Nyla Rose, and rightfully so. But we all know how that ends up turning out come October 2nd, as Riho was the inaugural AEW champion. Again, another match where she just gets the shit kicked out of her and steals it in the end. It was really well done. But yeah, second time around, this probably wasn't the most impressive match I had ever seen out of the girls, but it is good. It is definitely worth a watch if you haven't seen it before. Just maybe turn the commentary off.
Yeah. I mean, you have to think about what we were feeling back then. You know, like we're beginning to get something new to watch in the wrestling world.
Yeah.
At this point, we know that there's going to be Dynamite. I don't think we knew it was called Dynamite, but we knew that there was going to be a regular show on TNT at this time.
That announcement had just happened like a week before All Out.
Right.
Something like that.
And we have these Japanese wrestlers that we don't really see a lot on TV, just here and there. And an all Japanese match.
Yeah.
Which I don't know that you ever see in Vanilla Brand. So yeah, I remember liking this match when it happened. Going back now, I think we've seen some better ladies matches, but it's what we get out of the end of this that really matters, and that we know who's going to be in that championship match. Yeah. And it's a David versus Goliath type situation here,
which is always a great story to tell. Yeah, good stuff. I like that input. Let's keep the show rolling. Probably the most anticipated matchup of the night going into this, besides maybe the championship match in the main event. Cody versus Shawn Spears. Shawn Spears in the build up to this match. You know, this all starts at Fyter Fest. Darby and Cody go to the 20-minute time limit draw. You know, there's a good moment where Cody's like, "Holy shit, kid, you know, you did good." But then Shawn Spears comes out of the crowd. The chair shot heard around the world. We've talked about it before. If you guys have seen the pilot episode of the podcast where we kind of go through the history of All Out, we talk about this a little bit. The 12 stitches or the 10 stitches, depending on what news report you listen to after it happened. It's set that for All Out, we're going to get Cody and Shawn Spears. During the build-up, Shawn Spears aligns himself with Tully Blanchard. There's nobody in the world who knows more about getting under a Rhodes' skin. I think that's something JR says in the commentary during the lead-up to this match than Tully Blanchard, former Four Horsemen enforcer and whatnot. So, yeah, I was really pumped for this match. They did such a good job. Cody's Nightmare Family YouTube channel was really pushing this match. It was actually quite well done. I remember just being so pumped for this match.
Yeah, because we have the controversy of the chair shot. You know, Cody not putting his hand up and and taking this chair shot the hard way. These guys are friends, longtime friends. So
Training
you have,
partners, no VW.
Yeah. Yeah, you have that. It's exciting right from the very beginning with the entrances. Tell us about Shawn Spears coming out.
Yeah, so this is the first time that we see Shawn Spears is the chairman hadn't been a thing yet, but I mean this was the seeds, right? So the lights are all out, the camera's right on the ramp, a spotlight comes down, and Spears has got his hood on, and he's just sitting there cross-legged on the chair, and just the way everything's dark around him, it's a spotlight, there's no sound. It's actually really cool. And then he gets up and he slams the chair together, and then the music hits. It was really epic. I remember like, man, that was really cool. And then he gets down to the bottom of the ramp. Tully comes out, pulls the hood off. You get these crazy contact lenses that Shawn's rocking with. He hasn't really rocked since, which I don't know why, because it makes him look fucking badass. But yeah, really cool entrance from Shawn Spears here. And then Cody takes that really cool entrance that Cody does and tosses it up and knocks it out of the park. Tell us about Cody's entrance, since you're the Cody guy.
I will make one addition to Shawn Spears. I thought was really cool is that he walks down the ramp super slow and he's just dragging that chair.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like he's holding the chair. He's dragging the chair. He still has his head down. We can't see his face. And I think it was Excalibur who says, like, this is the chair that he used. It's dented. It's got blood all over it.
Right.
Now, I doubt it's the same chair.
Yeah, I don't think they brought it back from the Ocean Center in Daytona Beach, Florida, but...
Right. There was a dent in it, though.
There was a dent in it. Yeah.
Made sure that I paused it when I saw that. Yeah, Cody comes out with like a Star Trek theme. I know he's a Star Trek guy.
I believe the word is Trekkie. He's a Trekkie.
Trekkie, okay. We had actually seen earlier in the night that MJF was wearing a Star Trek type looking shirt. DDP. We see DDP walking. No, actually, it's Brandy first. We see Brandy with Pharaoh. She's wearing this silver leotard. I don't know the characters of Star Trek because I'm not nerd AF. But when we see DDP, now we're getting it that it's Star Trek because he's got the, where it's colored on the shoulders type idea. So Brandy's walking down the hallway. She picks up DDP. Then they pick up MJF. And then the best moment, we hear the Cody's prelude, which is just so cool. It just builds up to this, fantastic thing, and he rises up from the stage. I love Cody's entrance. It's amazing, but we get a bit of controversy here towards the end when his music hits and the pyro goes off. I didn't remember this. You had remembered it, and it was actually cut from the YouTube a version of this. So if you do click on the links and watch this, you're actually not going to see this part because they cut it out.
Yeah, so, Cody gets up. He comes up through the stage, as you mentioned, and he makes his way to the front, and that's when everybody else joins him. And the pyro, really goes off all the way around them. In the YouTube version that you're going to see, when you click, it just goes to like the Titantron almost. And it's just showing like some graphics while that's all going on. But where the controversy lies is that Pharaoh was out there. This is Cody's dog. He's actually quite famous on Instagram and stuff like that. But, I mean, anybody who's had a dogs during, Canada Day or 4th of July know that they don't like loud sounds. They don't like loud noises like that. And the pyro goes off. Pharaoh was very spooked. You could see it on the original broadcast. Brandy's got him on a leash, but he is trying to get away, and she's trying to hang on to him, and they're just trying to get through this entrance. But yeah, Pharaoh was very spooked, and all the dog lovers out there really came after Cody and AEW for even putting the dog in that situation. And Cody owned up to it right away. He was just like, yeah, it was a good idea on paper. It kind of backfired. Pharaoh's fine. He's okay. And, it won't happen again. And so I think Cody did a really good job of, talking his way out of that one. And I'm sure he regrets doing it. And yeah, there's just a little bit of controversy.
Yeah. I like you have dogs in movies and whatnot. They can be trained to not be bothered by that. So it's kind of sounds like they didn't maybe try it a couple times to see how the Pharaoh would react. So.
Yeah. You got to think of police dogs. They got to deal with gunshots and stuff, right? So
right. Definitely. So that made the entrance a bit awkward, but up until that point, it was super cool.
Oh, for sure.
What'd you think about this match?
I mean, for how pumped up I was, this match kind of, I'm so Team Cody at this point because he's really the one who's giving us this alternative to the vanilla brand. He was really the one that in the forefront. He was leading all the press conferences, and it's kind of really his name that's out there. I mean, we know it's Tony Khan, but Tony Khan's not putting himself out there like Cody and the Bucks are. And Cody's a great talker, and he just had me bought all in. I was all in with these guys, right? So I'm very much Team Cody at this point. So basically, he couldn't do no wrong. And I remember at the time, I really, really liked this match because, yeah, I'm a Cody guy at this point. The blood feud, all the stuff with MJF. We were thinking that he's been teasing on BTE up to this point that he's going to turn. He's always talking behind Cody's back. So we're like expecting MJF to maybe get involved. He's working with Tully Blanchard. Tully Blanchard's taking bumps. He's throwing punches. Like at the time, everything about this match was awesome. And then we get the huge Arn Anderson reveal. Coming to save the day, gets the big spine buster on Shawn Spears. Like everything about it was good. Watching it back, I was like, man, I really want to check Instagram right now. But I don't know if that's just because like I've seen it before and I kind of know what's going on, but I don't know. It was botchy in some spots. Communication didn't seem to be there for two guys that really work well together, supposedly. You know what I mean? So yeah, it was just a bit lackluster the second time around. What did you think of it?
Yeah, it was a slow match. There's a lot of story here. I didn't get the story they were telling in the match. Like I was expecting it to be more brutal, and it wasn't. And then Tully and MJF get involved. We get spots where MJF is distracting the ref, and it's not working in Cody's favor. Cody's getting, more punishment. So this really seems, watching it a second time, I'm sure it wasn't intended to be this way, but what we get out of this is really more of a match about MJF and Cody. And I feel like the ending is like the best part. So if you want to, let's just skip right to that.
So Cody, he ends up getting the win. He gets the crossroads in. 1, 2, 3. During the celebration, there's a moment where the chair was brought in from Shawn Spears. It was used as a distraction technique. It ends up being used up against Shawn Spears. There's the disaster kick into the crossroads. 1, 2, 3. So when MJF comes into the ring and he sees the chair, like he's not like Cody's got his arms up at the ref. MJF's behind him and he's looking at the chair. He's not even looking at Cody. actually picks it up, and you can see the wheels cranking. And I mean, I'm popping right now. I'm like, it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. The heel turn's happening. But then, just as Cody's gonna turn around, he throws it down and gives the roller coaster a big hug, and all is well for now.
Right. Right. And then we learn later. I mean, we get the payoff to all of this. We won't talk about that. But what do you think about Spears? Like, I really feel like this was the downfall. Like, we haven't really seen Shawn since this.
It was kind of the beginning of the end. And I think I talked about this actually not too long ago on our regular weekly show, because he's going on this winning streak on Dark. And he kind of has this new gimmick with the glove, Tully. Is he part of this new Four Horsemen that we think is going to happen? Is he not? Whatever. But I'm like, this guy needs to be doing more. Like, ever since this, it was kind of that roadblock. I wonder if Shawn goes over here, it wouldn't have hurt Cody at all, because he's still the savior. He's still the guy giving us the alternative. But then Shawn has a little bit of momentum now because he gets the win over. It's hard to say. But yeah, you're definitely right. Shawn kind of falls off the map here. Dynamite starts. We get the chairman gimmick. And he goes into full gear and loses again. I can't remember who he was up against. It was MJF.
It was MJF.
It was MJF.
That's who I think it was.
And MJF gets the win on Shawn Spears. And then later on, we get the full turn, on Cody at full gear. But yeah, it's unfortunate because Shawn Spears is a great wrestler. He is a good character. He can take his character to the next level. And I mean, it doesn't help or it doesn't hurt him that he's Canadian in our eyes. So, but yeah,
right.
It's unfortunate. I feel like if Shawn goes over here, it would have been a better story for him. But you're definitely right.
Yeah.
It was kind of the beginning of the end for him in a way. Okay, let's move on to the aforementioned best matchup of the night. The Escalera de la Muerte. I've been practicing that all week. All week. I had to call my Mexican buddy, and I need some help pronouncing
Get some lessons.
Get some lessons. It's for the triple. Okay, let me try this one. The triple A. I can't roll my R's.
No.
It's for the triple A. The AAA World Tag Team Championships ladder match. The ladder match of death. Lucha Brothers versus the Young Bucks. And I mean, we're hitting at an hour and a half on the show already, so let's try to keep this to within 40 minutes. But this was a huge match. Huge match.
Is this a rubber match?
This was. So
Right.
They did the double or nothing, where I believe the Young Bucks win the AAA championships. And then they had a match down in AAA for one of their big WrestleMania events. Lucha Brothers win it back. And then, yeah, this was the third in the series, the trilogy. This Lucha Brothers come out after the Young Bucks versus the Rhodes Brothers at Fight for the Fallen. And they bring the ladder in and they climb it, and they cut this promo like pretty much all in Spanish. It was actually really cool. I know we always talk about how they're always trying to make the Japanese girls and guys speak in English, but just let them speak in Japanese and put subtitles, like or whatever you need to do. But there's so much more. They're better at getting their emotions off, and that promo on top of that ladder from the Lucha Brothers was really good. So the challenge was set. Here we are, a month later. This match is insane. I remember the stories coming out on social media after the match, and all their friends and families, like all the other wrestlers and all the other promotions, like, you guys are freaking crazy. This made TLC, you know what I mean? TLC 1 and 2 look like look like a regular old hardcore match. This was
a Divas match.
Divas match, yeah. It was insane. It was absolutely insane. And the spots that they go through.
I literally have on the notes here too many spots to write down.
Right.
Like for a majority of the beginning of the match, like there's just spot after spot after spot. And it's not even the biggest parts of the match, but there's still just these crazy spots off the ladder, off the ropes, flips, cutters, just you name it, it's there. But I did write down some of like the more bigger, more devastating, the ones that you're just like, okay, someone's died, call a priest, it's done. The first one I have written down here was Pentagon does a destroyer to Matt from the top of the ladder through a table. What'd you think about this move?
I almost forgot that this happened. Like, honestly, like when we watched it back, I was just like, they're not doing this. They get out of this somehow, right? And then, Pentagon gets over and Matt Jackson's like still hanging on to the ladder, trying to make himself like as sturdy as possible. And I could just imagine that Pentagon's like yelling at him, like, you need to flip now, flip. And then finally, because like Pentagon was all the way over, almost all the way. Finally, Matt takes the jump and probably one of the cleanest destroyers off of anything to go through a table that we've ever seen. I totally forgot that actually happens. I think I thought that they were going to snake out of it sometimes, but that was an insane spot.
And it should be noted that this was one of the taller ladders.
Yeah, this was like the 20-footer.
This wasn't the 6-foot.
Yeah.
It was huge.
Yeah, it was big. From there, we go into, Pentagon has Nick up on the top rung. He's got his hands on the championship. Pentagon comes and pushes the ladder over. Nick kind of doesn't really get a good push off the ladder as it's falling. His feet catch the top rope. There's 2 tables waiting for him outside. He gets through one. His head doesn't quite get through the other one. And that was a nasty, nasty fall. What do you remember of that spot? I thought for sure
he wasn't getting up from that he was going to end up on a stretcher. I don't think that we actually see Nick again.
No, this is probably the last spot we saw of him until after the match.
Yeah. And I mean, we've seen Nick in this match take some huge bumps already. Mm-hmm. Like I say, we're not going through all of the spots here because that's an entire show in itself.
Yeah, it really is.
But yeah, this is a very, very brutal, scary looking move. I don't know that you can really call this a botch. It just didn't go as planned.
Yeah.
And if you're thinking about it, we've got a ladder that's falling. There's nothing to push off of, and he doesn't quite clear the top rope and takes a nasty one here.
It was insane. The fact that he even got up at all, like you mentioned, I'm expecting, the arms to be crossed, the EMTs coming out, because like they show it back in the replays from like a different angle, and you see his head, like his body goes through that table, that first table, but then his head really hits that second table, and the second table doesn't give at all. It's not like it tipped or it shifted, like it's like dunk, and you see his head snap back the other way. Like it was nasty. It was really nasty. Mm-hmm. You don't have it written down here, but I got to mention the package pile driver onto the ladder that was bridged across the barricade and the apron on Matt Jackson. That was a pretty nasty one too. I don't know if they didn't have a gigged ladder, if it was supposed to break, if it wasn't supposed to break. Was Matt's head supposed to go through the rungs a little bit? But there's a nasty sound, and that ladder doesn't give at all, and that was a nasty one too. Even though it was relatively a little bit calmer, but I mean,
Right.
it is insane. You guys, you definitely have to click the link on this one. Watch this match. I think it was up for match of the year. Pro Wrestling Illustrated, Dave Meltzer, whatever he does. I believe this got 6 stars on the Meltzer rating. Probably
Well deserved.
Probably one of the first 5-star, 6-star matches for AEW in their infancy at this point. It was wild. It was a wild match. But again, I mean, this one was very much about the match itself. I want to rewind a bit. For a ladder match like this and kind of a spot heavy match, you don't think that there's going to be a lot of psychology in this one, but I feel like they did a really good job of telling a story with all of this, because it was very much Nick and Phoenix working together, the younger brothers, and then it was Matt and Pentagon working, the older brothers, and then they would even do the switch where there was a moment where Matt and Ray are looking at each other, and they're going to attack the brothers of the opposing teams. They did a lot of moves in stereo. They did the spear spot through the ropes, through the tables at one point, and then they did the frog splashes off the ladders through the tables on the outside. Someone needs to watch this match again and count how many tables were broken, how many rungs of the ladder were climbed, because insane. But yeah, I just wanted to mention that there was a story that went along with this match, which is not always the easiest to do in a spot heavy match like this.
Right, and then we get to the end where Matt pulls off Pentagon's mask.
Oh yeah, that's a story all in itself. Like anybody who follows,
the crowd booed hard.
Yeah,
when this happened.
And for those of you who maybe don't know, the mask is sacred to the luchador, religion in a way. It's a very big deal. When a mask is taken off, it doesn't happen very often. Sometimes down in Mexico, they'll do the mask versus mask match, and it's a big deal. And that person who loses their mask generally goes away for a really long time. And kayfabe is very much alive down in Mexico. And the crowd here in Chicago, they understood all this. So when the mask comes off, holy, did they ever give it to Matt? And Matt just plays it up. He's like, what? Why are you mad, bro? Like, he kind of just throws it away. Pentagon goes down. Ray comes in for the finish, or for the save, helps get the mask on. That happens just before the big package pile driver through the ladder spot. But yeah, crazy.
This was a good secondary spot because Ray's going to come for the save. This whole mask taking off happened at the top of the ladder. Ray is going to do this sort of jump towards Matt on the ladder. Matt super kicks him in midair.
Right.
In the meantime, we're all watching this. Pentagon gets his mask, and then he comes in and pushes the ladder. And I don't know, do you think this spot happened the way that they want it to happen? Because Matt flips off the ladder. So the ladder's like this. The ladder falls. Matt kind of just jumps up and then falls directly on top of the falling ladder. That looked deadly. Big sound came out of I forgot about that, and we just watched this yesterday. But we went back and watched this about 2 or 3 times in 0.25 times speed. And yeah, it's just like he went to go jump off. I think he was just trying to take a back bump to the thing. But again, how hard is it to push off of a ladder that's falling? Just doesn't get that distance away, and he ends up just back breaking himself over the edge of the ladder. It was crazy. That takes us to our finish. Lucha Brothers retain, and then we get some action after the match.
Yeah, so there's you can kind of hear a rustle in the crowd, and I guess I'm thinking they came from like the sides of the ramp. I don't think they came down from the ramp, but they were definitely coming from the ramp area. The crowd's recognizing that something's amiss here. Camera catches as everybody's trying to get Nick Jackson's dead body out of the way and trying to clear the ladders. You see these 2 characters, black hoodies, black pants, and they got like the Point Break The
Masks.
President masks on. One was a little bit higher quality than the other, but that's okay. I think Excalibur even throws out the Johnny Utah reference for those of you who know that movie. And they just basically attack the Lucha Brothers. They get them out of the ring. Lucha Brothers don't really get a celebration at this point. Matt and Nick Jackson, somehow still alive. They get in the ring and they're like, what the hell's going on? Who are you guys? They get attacked. And then once everybody's cleared out, the masks come off and we get to see Santana and Ortiz. They are #All Elite. And this is the first time we're seeing them. Do you remember if you knew these guys at that point or not? Because I remember a lot of the guys that I was watching with, they didn't have any idea who these guys were, but I had known them from Impact.
Yeah, I didn't have a clue. I was staring at the screen, wondering why Dustin Bufflin's little brother was in a wrestling ring. I think I had texted you or something after, and you had known who these guys were?
Yeah, so they were formerly of Impact Wrestling. They were known as LAX. LAX was a faction, a stable. There was a couple different members at a couple different times. They were kind of led by Conan, but this was the latest, formation of that tag team, and it was Santana and Ortiz. So yeah, really great tag team. I've seen them before working with the Briscoe brothers, and I believe they've worked with the Young Bucks before in ROH and stuff like that. So yeah, I knew exactly who these guys were, and it was a big deal. It was a big pop too. Crowd in Chicago knew who they were.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dustin Bufflin's little brother. Which one are you talking about? Was Santana or Ortiz?
Santana, yeah.
I think they both could be little brothers. Ortiz is just the littler brother of Bufflin.
Right.
But yeah, it was a good match, and big things to see. Later on, when it comes down to the first episode of Dynamite, and it was being billed that it was going to be the Elite, the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega versus Jericho and a tag team of his choosing. It ends up being Santana and Ortiz. That's the formation of the Inner Circle. Hager and Sammy also join, that night. And it all started on this night, All Out, August 31st. We see later that Jericho had called these guys into his ring, and he's like, "Hey, I saw what you guys did tonight. I liked your style. Why don't you join with me and we'll take this place down?" And that was kind of the formation of the Inner Circle that kind of happened at All Out. It's kind of a neat thing that we got to see.
This is a pretty pivotal show, hey?
Very, very
there's
important.
There's a lot of inaugural implications of the things that happened here and set up for this, thing that we now talk about every week.
Yeah, for
called
sure.
AEW Dynamite.
Yeah. It's very much the most important show that they've put on to this point, Double or Nothing was big. This was almost bigger in a way because we're setting everything up for weekly TV. We got to get all the pieces in their spot, right? So yeah, it was a big deal. It was a big deal. That was a good point. Well, let's move on to the main event, what we were all here to see, the crowning of the first AEW World Champion. We got Chris Jericho, got his spot from beating Kenny Omega at Double or Nothing. Hangman Adam Page getting his spot from winning the Casino Battle Royale at Double or Nothing as well. And there was a lot of hype going into this match too. There was a lot of story behind this. The road to and all that stuff was really building this match well, and I was excited for this one.
Yeah, so was I. Did we have predictions for this one? Do you remember if we were predicting?
I know with my group of guys, they were all asking who they thought. They were kind of all on the new school way of saying Adam Page. But, I mean, how do you not put the belt, the first belt on the GOAT? I couldn't see Jericho not winning this match. And do you remember what you were thinking going into this?
I don't quite remember. I think if I had to put myself in that position again, though, in what I knew back then, I I could have saw it going two ways. There's one way where you have this almost cowboy, right, ride into the sunset with the championship. But the only way it was ever going to happen, it couldn't have been clean. You can't bury Chris Jericho before we get to TV. That's
Right.
just it's not right.
Yeah.
Or the GOAT gets it. So I probably would have been in between. Probably leaning more towards Jericho, not for storyline, but more because he's Canadian. He's from Winnipeg. And he's the man. So
Yeah.
what did you think about the entrances here?
Well, I remember at the time, because we got this was the whole lead up to some cowboy shit, right? This was cowboy shit, or the beginning of cowboy shit. And he was talking about how he wanted to ride a horse in. I think it was part of BTE. He wanted to ride a horse into Double or Nothing, and they're like, "No, dude, you can't do that. You can't do that. Like, it can't happen." So we finally get to see that, and that's really cool. It was a little like, oh, this is all it's going to be? Like, they should have had this guy filming right from outside. They should have did a package of him riding the horse across the plains. You know, there should have been a vignette added to this, and then he comes into the ring with the horse, right? That would have been like just a little bit extra. But no, he just kind of comes out the backstage area on the side. It was cool, but like I said, it could have been better. Everything could be better, but that's all hindsight, right? Watching it back the second time, I really noticed how cheesy it was, but it was all cool. I love Hangman's
because he really
music.
just trots.
Yeah, it was nothing special.
Yeah.
It like, I think we were just talking about this tonight, where I'm pretty sure this was the first time Adam Page had ever been on a horse. You know, I think there was a story where he was, practicing in the parking lot in the afternoon and stuff like that, but essentially this is the first time of him being on a horse. We see later, Stadium Stampede match, and he's full out galloping on this horse chasing Sammy down. He's gotten a lot better. But yeah, I believe.
Yeah,
if
no, he
look
looks a little bit. Wouldn't say afraid, but concerned.
Yeah, he was nervous.
Yeah,
but he had the heel clicks going, and because the horse kind of stopped at one point, he's like, "Come on, get it." So it was good. And then Jericho comes out, pretty just standard Jericho entrance. But what was weird, as we were watching it back, there's a full live crowd. Like, this is a year ago now. There's no coronavirus. Everybody's there. The arena's packed. 12,000 strong, however many it was. And no one's singing along with Judas. It was weird.
Yeah.
But
maybe you said you heard once it got to the chorus.
Yeah, I could.
A little bit of singing.
Yeah, I could maybe hear some of the guys maybe front row that the camera mics were picking up that were singing along, but nothing like it was now. Nothing like it was on the Jericho Cruise when the first kind of real sing along happened. But like the crowd last week in Jacksonville, that little crowd did a better job than these guys did with the full arena. Right. So it was just a little weird. But yeah, Jericho, pretty standard entrance. He's running the Painmaker gimmick still at this point. He's got the jacket with all the spikes on. It was cool. It was cool stuff.
Now, we didn't talk about this when we talked about the Kenny match, but when we get the announcement of Chris Jericho and they say he's from Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada, huge pop.
Oh, yes.
Winnipeg here.
Yeah, there was a big pop for Winnipeg, and I kind of made the comment, Chicago better be appreciative of Winnipeg. We gave them Jonathan Taves and Duncan Keith, so you're welcome for the Stanley Cups there, buds.
Yeah.
Fucking Chicago.
They know all about Winnipeg and Chicago.
Yeah, that's for sure. So, yeah, big pop for Winnipeg. I was actually quite surprised that Winnipeg got the pop. Yeah, Chris Jericho's the GOAT.
What do you think about this match?
I think when we talked about All Out in our pilot episode, when we were kind of doing the history of All Out, I remember saying, like, the championship match doesn't need to be the best match of the night. it doesn't need to be spectacular. That's not what it's there for. And this is very much the example of that. It's not a flashy match. It's not high energy, fast paced. It's slow and it's deliberate and it's impactful. And that's what this match was. It was slow. But it had meaning. Every spot had meaning, I feel like. There was a couple of, miscommunications, being the moonsault to the outside into the code breaker. Little bit of a mistiming. You got to remember, this is the first time Chris Jericho was, in the ring with Hangman at this point. There was the run in at Fight for the Fallen and a couple of brawls here and there, but as of a lockup, this is the first time they're touching each other. So it was to be expected.
Yeah, and I'm sure Hangman was nervous. This was the biggest match of his young career.
Yeah, by far. We're talking about a guy who got started in Ring of Honor. Ring of Honor was the big times for him, before this. So you come out during the press conference, that initial press conference back in January of 2019, and you say you're going to be the first AEW champion, and okay, well, here's your chance. Let's see what you got. That would put some pressure on the best of them. But
yeah,
he settles down, midway into this match, and when he really takes control and he's really beating the piss out of Chris Jericho, busts him open. He looks a lot more like Hangman at that point.
Part of the story here too is that Hangman had his family ringside.
It's the first time
they'd actually never ever seen him wrestle. This was the first time.
Right. And you got to remember that Hangman wrestled part-time while he was a teacher. And I think he was still teaching up until signing with AEW. So all through Ring of Honor and going over to Japan and wrestling and stuff, like, this guy's still a teacher. So yeah, it's kind of surprising, but not at the same time, that his parents and his family have never seen him wrestle live before. And that was very much a part of the buildup. And Jericho was commenting on it. And to me, that's just like, okay, we're going to see a spot with the family. I think it was a missed opportunity. We never do get to see that spot. You want to elaborate a little bit more on that?
Yeah, I mean, there's one point where Jericho's beating up Hangman right in front of his family, but there's no interaction there.
There's one little finger point, and that's it.
Yeah, I was expecting something as well. I was predicting maybe the daughter might, do the slap in the face or something, but he did not say anything. So, I don't know. I don't know what you think about it, but I think that Chris probably suggested it, and maybe Hangman's parents weren't into it, and it didn't happen.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, there was probably, the point, and then Chris did more of, he grabs the ring bell and starts ringing it like the match is over.
Yeah.
Even though it wasn't nearly over. We still had a good 20 minutes of match left.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, what else can we say about this match? There's a lot of back and forth. Jericho gets busted open midway through. Hangman's really pushing the pace. We see some really athletic things from Hangman, and I think this was the moment where I was just like, dude, you're supposed to be one of the big guns of this company. You can't be doing shooting star presses and moonsaults like they're DDTs, you know what I mean? And this is kind of the beginning of that criticism that I've had for Hangman, but yeah, I mean, he's an athletic guy, so you can't take that away from him completely, but buckshot lariat, we get a dead eye. Chris Jericho kicks out. Aubrey can't even believe it. As we see on her face, the camera was right there, and one of the better 2 counts, I guess you could say, the way she was coming down hard and she like slipped out of it at the last minute. Like Aubrey's the best ref AEW has. I don't care what anybody says.
Yeah. That was a huge false finish.
I thought it was over.
You could have really thought it was over at that point. Yeah.
And the match doesn't last too much longer after that. We get a codebreaker attempt, I believe. Hangman kind of slips out of it, and it comes up. He's going for a discus lariat, and this is the first time that we get to see. Or no, it wasn't the first time. Omega was the first time. My bad. We get to see the newly appointed finishing move of Chris Jericho, the Judas effect, probably one of the best ones that we've seen him pull off. It's not always the cleanest move, but this one hits really clean on Hangman, and we get the 1, 2, 3. What are your thoughts on the Judas effect as a move, as a finisher?
I mean, it's good. It's good in that it's unique. I feel like there's not really anybody doing this out there. But what makes it bad is it's really hard to kind of get into it. You always have to have the guy coming towards you. Mm-hmm. You can't be initiating this move. I agree with you when you say that this is probably the best one we've seen. Hangman takes this. I feel like he barely got up to protect himself. You see his head really kind of snap when it happens, where everybody else seems to kind of shy away from it because they are getting this move blind. Chris is not really seeing where it's happening. But yeah, I think it's unique and it's different, and it's not something that really that I know is doing it.
Mm-hmm. I think when Jericho was the lead up to that Kenny Omega match and he was like working on this, remember he was like doing the MMA training and stuff like that. His whole idea is that he wanted that move that could come out of nowhere, that RKO, the diamond cutter, the stunner, he wanted something like that, but those are kind of all cutters, right? So he wanted something a little different. But yeah, when you really think about it, yeah, it's coming out of nowhere, but you can see it coming from a mile away because, yeah, that guy does kind of have to be running toward him. I mean, I guess you could hide it with a simple Irish whip, but then that's kind of almost lackluster in a way. It's better when the opponent's going after an offensive move, and then, yeah, it kind of comes up. But
yeah, you compare it to the RKO, that guy can not be looking. He could just be standing there.
He'd be flying through the air, doing a shooting star press. He could be riding a bike on a pier and get RKO'd. We've seen that footage. So
that's right.
So yeah, I mean, it's a cool move. It's different. It's not the cleanest, that we've seen. Like this one in particular was really, really clean, and I like how you mentioned how Adam takes it like he drops like a sack of potatoes. A lot of guys, they get it and then they kind of do the stunned slow fall lately, but Adam gets it and he's down on the ground and there's a loud back bump and Jericho goes in for the 1, 2, 3. I think they did it right. The right, person won here. This leads into the infamous promo going through the back that they filmed at like 2 a.m. after the show was done. Everybody, they had to like re-wet down Jericho because he had dried up already, but he was doing all these other different bits and promo pieces, like filming the thing with Santana and Ortiz. Like there was a lot of work that was done after the show, so they had to go back and do this. And I mean, it's infamous. This is little bit of the bubbly. That's where it all started, was All Out. I can't believe that's been a year already. That's wild.
And there's another example of why this is such a pivotal show. It's the beginning of that, which is still going. Mm-hmm. I mean, it wasn't like 2 weeks ago where they had the bubbling in the ring with Orange Cassidy. It's still a thing. It still comes up every now and then. Yeah, I mean, I was super pumped. Our countrymen, our guy who's from the city that we live in, wins, and we think he's bringing that title home.
Yeah,
it's the Stanley Cup.
I was waiting at Portage and Maine later on the next weekend. I was waiting for the big celebration, but
but
never happened.
But he couldn't because he didn't have it.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Tell us about what happened a couple of days after All Out.
Yeah, so there was a situation on his way home, and he talks about it extensively. He had a whole podcast set aside to talk about this situation and how goofy it was. But essentially, planes were grounded because of some weather. But he really wanted to get home to Tampa Bay, I think is where he lives. And he ended up, I want to say like Atlanta from Chicago, and decided he was going to drive. And he has a buddy who runs a limo service of some sort. So he hooked him up with the driver. The driver picks him up. They get to about Tallahassee, Florida, which is in between Atlanta and Tampa Bay somewhere. And him and his wife decide they want to stop to eat. So there's an Outback Steakhouse. The guy, takes him to. And, everything was locked up in the trunk of the car. Or something like that. Like, everything was secure. They go in. About 5 minutes later, this driver comes into the restaurant and says, Mr. Jericho, there's been a break into the car and your belt's gone. What? And there's this really weird, next couple days of just unsolved mysteries type shit. You know what I mean? Like, it's a couple days later.
It was all over the news, eh?
Yeah, it was all over the news. And like, this is a big deal because this is AEW's first championship. This is the first champion. And he loses it. And I can just see Vince McMahon sitting at home just laughing. And there was that, conspiracy theory that, there was some WWE spies that got a hold of it. It was trying to sabotage everything. All the stories came out. But it ended up being even weirder than that because some random family was driving down like a highway that was like nowhere near where it was stolen from. Like it was like across the state almost at some point, or across the city, I should say. It was somewhere completely different. It was just laying on the ground. It was in its velvet bag. You know what I mean? They turn it into the police. The police are taking pictures with it. The people who found it are taking pictures with it. They're tweeting about it. And like Jericho's podcast is really, really well done, and how he's like there's no way this driver could have known that I had that belt with me. It's not like he was flashing it around. It was in his suitcase. So it was a really weird situation. It was kind of a funny situation when, like, after everything gets cleared up. But
right.
Yeah, Jericho said he was really worried. He thought Tony Khan was going to come down with the hammer and take it away from him, fine him, make him pay for replacing it, because it was like, I think that belt ended up being like $30,000 or something stupid like this, and that's not even $7,000 jacket exaggeration. Like, that's gold plating and diamonds, baby. Like, is kind of a funny situation, all in hindsight. But yeah,
but Jericho did a good job of this as well.
Well,
didn't he make some videos about trying to find the people who stole it? And
quick thinking, they turned it right into a storyline. And Jericho's in the hot tub. He's got his bubbly, his new catchphrase, and he puts the bounty out. Basically, I'm coming after whoever finds it, and if I do find you, da 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 da. And they did a really good job of turning it around and making something out of nothing, which AEW's kind of always done really well throughout, this past year and a half of AEW's existence. You know, anytime there's something bad in the press or something like that, they've always been quick to turn it around and make it a positive for them and turn it into a storyline on TV. So, yeah, really good stuff.
Right.
All right, well, that was awesome. There was a good chance to talk about something that we never got to talk about before because, you know, our show wasn't a thing back then. But that was All Out Revisited 2019. Again, All Out coming up 2020. All Out 2020 coming up this Saturday, September 5th, live on pay-per-view. It's going from Daly's Place, I believe. Tickets are sold out already. They put up about 500 tickets. They're saying, and they were gone quite instantly. We have Dynamite coming up on Wednesday. Doesn't look like it'll be any different times. They should be going at 7 Central here in Canada, 8 p.m. Eastern on TNT. Look forward to that. After, this is going to be a busy week for us because we're going to have Dynamite. We're going to have Dynamite on Wednesday. We're going to have our regular weekly show talking about BTE, AEW Dark, and all that stuff. And then we're going to try to bang out an all-out prediction show as quickly as possible. That'll come out Friday, hopefully. Pay-per-view on Saturday. And, of course, an all-out review of 2020 coming next week. So, busy week for us. Make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel. Hit that notification bell so you know when all these episodes are coming out this week. Like this video. Make sure to go out and like all our other videos. And thanks for watching. Peace.
Peace.